Welcome back into the Chris Mathis podcast. I'm your host, Chris Mathis, alongside and from my co-host, Spencer Mathis here for episode 11 of the Chris Mathis podcast as we talk some more sports and on the national level. Starting off with last week's recap, we had a busy week and, of course, always recap stats, scores, and hot takes if we were wrong and whatnot. First and foremost, start off with our hot takes. I was not wrong. I had the Indianapolis Colts beating the Patriots at home, snapping a 7-game winning streak for the Patriots, and they finally brought down Mac Jones. Colts looked like they had fun in that win and obviously won, so I think that's 4 straight hot takes now that I've gotten correct. And Spencer, talk more about your hot take and a little bit more.
I want to talk more about your hot take at first because the Colts were favored in this game and you chose them as your hot take in this game. But we'll let you get this one. We'll let you get away with this one as well. This is probably the third time you've picked a team that was favored as your hot take, but it's okay. I picked the Chargers to beat the Chiefs, and if their safeties and linebackers knew geometry, they would have tackled Travis Kelce, and he wouldn't have ran all over them for 180-something yards and 2 touchdowns. Mostly all coming in the fourth quarter and overtime. I mean, it was just a poor performance by the Chargers defense, and that's why they lost. Also, their stooge of a coach went for 3 fourth downs. He went for a 4th and 2 from like his own 25 at one point in the game. Went for a 4th down in field goal range twice. Failed one. If they would have kicked the field goal, there wouldn't have been an overtime. So I blame it all on Staley.
And also, you guys do know that we do a pickup player of the week last week. I'll own up to this. While I didn't get my hot take wrong, again, for the 4th straight week, I'm making a joke out of it because I missed 5 in a row to start off this podcast. But I did miss on my To The Moon Fantasy Pickup Player of the Week. I selected Devontae Freeman, running back for the Ravens, and he wet the bed. He got 3.4 fantasy points last week. So that one I will wear on my sleeve. Also, for Paul McBride, who's tuned in right now as well, I recommended that he started Henderson over Michelle. And Michelle had like 13 or 14. Henderson had 6 in that game earlier this week. So I own up to that too, Paul. But anyway, Spence, last week you picked Gaskin. You said he was going to carry those Dolphins to a victory. Talk about what Gaskin did and if he lived up to your expectation.
Yeah, Gaskin wet the bed like Fuller in Home Alone. So he had 5 points this week. Luckily, it didn't cost me in my fantasy game. He was projected 13. He barely got any of the snaps. They gave it mostly to like a 7th-year running back, forgot his name. But he ended up destroying the defense, and Gaskin really didn't get to play that much. He played probably 15 snaps. I watched the game. It was very disappointing. I thought it was going to cost me my fantasy championship, my playoffs, against the Drippin' Ice owner Cole Wright right here. Against him, but it did not, actually. I actually beat him because I am a fantasy football god.
Guru, god, whatever you want to say. Either way, you finally won. I didn't even think that you were going to be in the playoff race, to be honest with you. And you told me last week, you're like, dude, I have a shot. You think I have a shot, and you showed me the score. You were up by a little bit. He had a good shot to come back, and then you squeaked out a victory.
Yeah, he had DK Metcalf left, and I mean, if we were doing the top 10 quarterback rankings, I think Russell Wilson is officially out of my top 10 at this point.
He was at, 8 for you last week?
Yeah.
Even Carson,
gone.
Huge fan of the Seahawks.
Carson Garrett said not top 10, so you know it's over for Russell Wilson in Seattle. It's also over for Pete Carroll in Seattle. Next season, I'm sure Pete Carroll will be done with the NFL, and Russell Wilson will be back to his tip-top shape, but this season he is definitely not top 10. He absolutely wet the bed. Again, another Home Alone reference. He didn't have a good game, and I mean, he hasn't really had a good season at all. I was just going off of his past performances, and this year he just has not been up to it, even though he did come back from the worst injury that a quarterback can come back from in the fastest time frame that the doctor that he paid had ever seen. Obviously, he paid him for that PR, but yeah, Russell Wilson definitely not top 10 for me anymore.
Yeah, and obviously we talk about failures, guys that really stood out in negative limelight last week, and it's a new segment here on the podcast, one that you came up with. It's Stooge of the Week, and I've got – so what we'll do is for this week, Spence, I'll let you pick between my 2 options, and then you pick your Stooge of the Week, because I think there are 2 solid options, number one being the team that played the Steelers, the Tennessee Titans, dancing on the Steelers logo at midfield at Heinz Field over the weekend. And I even said something along the lines of, hey, watch out, Big Ben's going to get him back for that. And And Big Ben definitely watched this film. Speaking of Big Ben, I want to shout out Mountainside Parcel and Post for providing us a studio today once more. They're the home for, and I'm talking about Big Ben. He's a Steelers fan. Kenny, the owner, is a huge Steelers fan. But anyways, they take care of all of your needs. Mountainside Parcel and Post in North Georgia, Western North Carolina. Awesome studio. Glad to finally have a home for the Chris Mathis podcast. But anyways, so the Titans dance on the Steelers logo. Of course, Titans were expected to win that game, a 9-win team taking on a 6-win Steelers team, even though it was in Heinz Field. Now, I did predict that the Steelers would win before the game even started. I had a weird feeling. Then they danced on the logo, and I was like, that's it. Big Ben is going to have his way with the Titans. He did. They won 19-13. So that's my first option for you, Spencer. Second option was actually from one of our listeners. He sent in a Twitter DM. It's another Garrett. Isaiah tweeted me and said, here's a post regarding Jim Harbaugh, head coach of the Michigan Wolverine football program, former 5-star recruit, a recruit opportunity for Michigan, said that he left or decided not to choose Michigan because John Harbaugh came to the guy's house. What's the guy's name? Offensive lineman, former Georgia offensive lineman, and Tennessee Titan first-round pick Isaiah Wilson is who I'm talking about. He said that Harbaugh came to Wilson's house and was wearing cleats into his house like he was one of the guys. Into this guy's house, this recruit, potential guy, and then he said that Isaiah Wilson said that once he saw Harbaugh walk into his house with a pair of cleats, like he's a player number one, full gung-ho, and then number 3, the disrespect of wearing cleats on hardwood floors. I mean, that's something that, you'd get in trouble for, and he just did that, wore him to his house. So he said that he chose to dip out of Michigan and go to Georgia because of Jim Harbaugh. So out of those two options for my pick your Stooge of the week, Spence.
Titans defense.
So, yeah, and I kind of agree with you on that because last week, the week before, the Raiders danced on the Chiefs logo at Arrowhead, and the Raiders got blown out like 48 to something. I forget the score. And then you think, okay, no other team in the league is going to celebrate like that on the opposing logo at midfield. And the Titans say, you know what? Even though we don't have Derrick Henry, we will do that. And we're going to do it here at Heinz Field. Big Ben had enough, and they win 19-13 over the Titans over the weekend.
Yeah, so my Stooge of the week, the actual real Stooge of the week, is Mike Glennon. So this guy, 99 passing yards, 3 interceptions, no touchdowns, 24.8 QBR, and he had 1 rush for 0 yards, and it was a 4th and inches from midfield, and his long neck somehow didn't get over the line for the first down. I mean, Mike Glennon this season and forever is just, I don't know how he's in the NFL, let alone starting for an NFL team. And then they put in Jake Fromm in the fourth quarter. He went 6 for 12, 82 yards. So he almost matched the same amount of yards as Glennon did in just half of a quarter compared to Mike Glennon's 3.5 quarters. So Mike Glennon is the Stooge of the week for this week.
I really don't understand how he's on a roster, number one. I don't know how he's a top 2 guy on a roster, and nevertheless, I don't know how he's starting quarterback for the Giants right now.
I'm telling you, I think people are just afraid to cut him because he has a long neck and he could be an alien, and they don't know what would happen if they did cut him, and that's why he hasn't been cut.
Yeah, I mean, we liked him 2013. I thought he had a shot to be decent until, like you said a few weeks back, against Carolina, what did he do? It was a terrible pick 6, I think.
No, he literally just lost
fumbled.
the ball.
Yeah, it was worse than Jameis Winston in that national championship against Oregon. But anyways, our Stooge of the Week provided by Spencer, of course, here with the Chris Mathis podcast. So, big 3. Typically, it's 3 hot topics for right now, and we're picking 3 big games this week, starting off with Thursday Night Football tonight. The San Francisco 49ers play in Tennessee. They take on the Titans. The 49ers, a 3.5-point favorite. I think that, of course, the Niners are red hot right now. They look solid. Even with all of the injuries that they've battled, I mean, before the season started, it looked like, it really looked like a list of just injuries that a team would see over a 2-year span, much less in the offseason. This team was beat up from the get-go, from opening kickoff. In some way, somehow, the San Francisco 49ers, an 8-win team, I don't know how they've done it other than the fact of Curtis Samuel, been a true X factor. They're the receiver, the running back, the whole 9 yards, and he's really helped lead the team. And I argue that he will not get MVP, but in terms of what he means to the team, he means to the team as much as anybody across the league. Curtis Samuel, offensive weapon there for the San Francisco 49ers. So talk about this Big 3 game on Thursday night and why you picked this game.
I mean, this is a huge game. Of course, it has big playoff implications because we are so late into the NFL season. San Fran looking to boost their chances at a wild card. Right now, they're in the second wild card spot out of the 3 now that we have in the NFL, and they still have a chance to win the division if the Rams and the Cardinals just absolutely fall out like the Cardinals did last week against the Lions. But in this game, I think San Fran's going to win this because Joey Bosa has 15 sacks this season, and really no one seems to talk about him. He is one of the most athletic defensive ends in the league, and he absolutely murders opposing quarterbacks on the field.
Yeah, Joey Bosa is killing it. He's obviously a threat, and somebody
Nick
Bosa. What's that?
Nick Bosa, excuse me.
Yeah, that's right. Joey is with the Chargers.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Bosa is awesome. Obviously, you see his highlight reels on Twitter left and right. Seems like every Sunday he's got a clip coming out of just this Goliath coming at the quarterback. And I would definitely be scared if Bosa came after me. He's a big dude, and he seems to be a gentle giant, though. I saw a highlight reel of him mic'd up a few weeks back talking about some kind of comic book or something like that. But either way, that's the first item of the Big 3. San Francisco at Tennessee tonight. On Saturday, the Indianapolis Colts will play at Arizona. That'll be a big game. Obviously, Arizona a favorite in this game, just a 1-point favorite. They lost last week to the Detroit Lions. They lost in terrible fashion too. The Lions really showed up Arizona, and in my opinion, proved me right, proved everybody else wrong. They believed that the Cardinals were a legitimate team, and yeah, they've got some weapons. Of course, J.J. Watt going down early hurt them, but in my opinion, they were the Steelers of last year, except in this year's team. And of course, the Colts coming off a huge win against the Patriots last week at home. Colts 8-6, Cardinals 10-4, and Cardinals are a 1-point favorite. I think more or less of that has to do with the fact that they're the home team in Glendale, Arizona.
Yeah, this is a huge game for the Colts and the Cardinals, of course, because if the Cardinals lose, they are going to fall in the top out of the top 3 of the NFC spots for the playoffs. But then again, if you have the Colts win this game and Tennessee loses, the Colts shoot up to first in the AFC South and are not a wild card team anymore. So this is a huge game, and I think the Colts are going to win this game. I think the Cardinals, after losing to the Lions, have lost some momentum, and maybe Kyler Murray is not going to do good against this Colts defense. And then you have Jonathan Taylor as your running back, and he's an absolute stud. So I think the Colts are going to ground and pound this game out and win this one.
Yeah, I don't think that you're wrong there by any means. Obviously, Carson Wentz is a guy that deserves some respect on this podcast, and even though he does have bad ankles, the guy is balling out. 23 touchdowns, 6 picks, 95 quarterback rating right now, over 3,000 passing yards. Carson Wentz has really played pretty well this year. I think the first 2 or 3 games he had a couple of turnover-worthy plays, threw a terrible pick six, but since then, the guy's been solid.
Yeah, he's been good, and he's had a lot of luck as well. I think he's top 2 in turnover-worthy plays in the NFL. A lot like Patrick Mahomes last season with the dropped interceptions, but a pretty good season with just 6 interceptions. So the luck plays into it, of course, but he's having a pretty good season.
Talking about our Big 3 here on the podcast, obviously we talk about the Thursday night football game to kick things off. San Francisco at Tennessee, Indianapolis at Arizona on Saturday, and then on Sunday, later on this weekend, the Buffalo Bills take on the New England Patriots. This is going to be a big-time game. If you guys recall, what has it been 3 or 4 weeks ago, this matchup was huge in Buffalo, in which Mac Jones threw 3 passes. The Patriots won the game. Ran the ball, I think, 39 or 42 times in a victory against the Bills. This game is huge. Obviously, this has a lot to do with the standings in the AFC East. First place, New England Patriots, 9 wins. Second place, Bills, 8 wins on the year. Bills want revenge. This is a great opportunity on Sunday to really step up, prove their worth. And again, the Bills have been a disappointment to me. I'm not saying they're a bad team. They're still a very good team. But in terms of how dominant I expected them to be, they have definitely not even matched my expectation. They're nowhere near to where they were last year. Down the playoff stretch, you look at teams that make it far, and all of those teams have a rushing attack. The Bills, their leading rusher, Josh Allen, you can't rely on him in the playoffs to carry your offense on the ground. You can rely on him here and there, but to say that, hey, we have to have Josh Allen run for 75-plus yards every game down the stretch, it will not happen. Bills need to win this game. I think it's a must-win. Obviously, the Patriots have regrouped following a loss this past weekend against the Indianapolis Colts. I can't bet against Bill Belichick in a game like this, coming off of a loss and a game that he thought they would win. He thought that they would beat the Colts last weekend. I think that the Patriots win this game. They're at home, of course. They are a 2.5-point favorite. And, obviously they did squeak out a victory a few weeks back against the Bills. I think there was some luck in that. Of course, the Bills missed a field goal. It was very windy-like condition. It was snowing at some point during that game. A lot of factors were weighing into that loss earlier this season for the Bills, but I think that they do lose this one as well. In New England, I think the Patriots win this football game.
Yeah, I don't think that's true. I think Buffalo's going to win this game because if they lose this game, they're out of the wild card spot if the Ravens win this week. So Buffalo legit has to win this game against New England. They lost a close one a couple weeks back in the snow, in the windy conditions where Josh Allen couldn't throw the ball. I mean, Mac Jones threw it 3 times, but they won because of the Patriots rushing attack. But the Bills have to win this game, and I think they're going to go out there and beat the Patriots by a touchdown plus.
Yeah, you talk about playoff implications. The Baltimore Ravens playing Cincinnati this week, taking on the Bengals. Bengals are a 2.5-point favorite in the game. So, Buffalo has to win this game, but I don't think that Baltimore wins. I'm not worried just yet, even if Buffalo does lose, because I don't think that the Ravens will win this week against the Cincinnati Bengals. Which, speaking of, I don't know if you saw Joe Burrow, but he kind of hurt his free agent transaction future career with the Bengals. He said earlier this week regarding the COVID situation, saying that there's not much to do in Cincinnati. That you don't go out and have fun, he said, basically in a nutshell. But he did say there's not much to do in Cincinnati.
He's right.
So any guy that thought about coming to play with Joe Burrow is now second-guessing it unless they are just football-minded. But if you're a football guy that wants to win football games, you just go to Tampa and play with Tom Brady anyway.
I mean, if you don't care about the outside scene and you're truly football-minded, you go to Green Bay. I mean, there's nothing to do in Green Bay, but players will still go to Green Bay just because it's such a football-centered city. I mean, but then Cincinnati is not that. I mean, Cincinnati offers absolutely nothing. It's got one of the highest crime rates in the world. They got lead in their water. They got a lot of things wrong with that city, and that's probably why Joe Burrow says there's nothing to do, and he's not lying there, so I don't blame him for that.
Yeah, without question. And obviously that was a recap of our big three: San Francisco at Tennessee, Indianapolis at Arizona, and the Buffalo Bills take on the New England Patriots there against the Patriots. Patriots are the home team this time around. They did beat Buffalo last time, I guess 3 or 4 weeks ago up at this point. But, obviously one segment that really catches a lot of traction and it's something that we take a lot of pride in because neither of us likes to lose. We're both pretty competitive guys. It also helps that, we're brothers, so we always go at it with each other talking about hot takes when we're wrong. And, I tend to own up to it a little bit better than you do. But this week...
No.
What? Come on, let's argue this out. But this week, I got the Atlanta Falcons losing at home to the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions are a 2-win program, 2-11. They do come off a win, an upset against the Arizona Cardinals last week. Atlanta Falcons are a 6-win team. Detroit Lions a 2-win team. Falcons are the home team. They are a 4.5-point favorite in this game. I'll go ahead and throw out a score, and I think that this score will be accurate. So I'm going to say this score is going to be pretty accurate in terms of Detroit winning. I'll say 24-21. Detroit wins in Atlanta this Sunday against the Atlanta Falcons. That's my hot take. Go ahead and grab out your notes, write it down, and if I'm wrong, come at me on Twitter at the Chris Mathis or tag us on Twitter at TCM_pod. Call me out because the Detroit Lions will beat the Atlanta Falcons this week. And again, I've relied on the Falcons a lot this year to be right for me. I picked them 3 straight weeks in a hot take in order for me to finally get out of my slump of swinging 0 for 4. And they were my first correct hot take. I think they'll be my 4th consecutive hot take prediction that I get right this week with a Detroit Lion victory over the Falcons on Sunday.
Yeah, another snooze of a hot take by Chris Mathis. But as he says, any publicity is good publicity for him. So at him on Twitter, even if he's wrong, comment, like, retweet, subscribe, just do whatever. Just give us impressions is what Chris is saying, regardless of if he's right or wrong. But My hot take for this week is that the Houston Texans will defeat the Chargers this Sunday at 1 p.m., the day after Christmas, okay? Here's how I think this is going to go. I think that Justin Herbert is a guy who will eat turkey on Christmas. He's one of those types of people. He's not going to have ham. The Christmas ham is usually what you see in a family, but Justin Herbert, being an introvert, might go with the turkey because he hasn't been outside of his house since Thanksgiving, so he might still have leftovers from Thanksgiving. So I think he's going to be tired going into this Texans game, and the Texans are going to go in there. Davis Mills, the long neck who rivals Mike Glennon, is going to go in there against the Chargers and defeat them by a touchdown. I think it's going to be a guaranteed win. I'm telling you, put the money down now. The Chargers are favored by 9.5, so the payout's going to be huge. So I'm telling you, I'd listen to this hot take because I think it's correct.
I think that there might be a shot, not because of the Christmas situation, but just simply because of the COVID situation. I really do think that could play an impact into any game. And we saw last week 3 or 4 games were moved to not only different time frames, but totally different days for an NFL game. It was quite odd, hard to keep up with, I can't lie. They're in the work week, too. We had Monday games, additional Tuesday games.
Yeah, luckily the Tuesday games were absolute garbage.
Yeah, it was one of those situations where you just kind of fall asleep and then wake up and see the score the next morning. But talking about your hot take, that is very hot. But if there's one place that it's acceptable, it's right here on the Chris Mathis podcast because things are trending.
Yeah.
And, obviously got a lot of attention regarding that Joseph Mancuso interview that aired on a Tuesday. So go check that out for our Talk to Him Tuesday edition of the Chris Mathis podcast. It's available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube. Pretty cool stuff as we talk to University of Richmond quarterback Joe Mancuso and his potential NFL career that's just upon and just on the horizon. But anyways, we have a lot of different candidates for our Player of the Week, Spence. And for me, it was a guy who truly impacted my week, made my Monday a heck of a lot better. He really did, because on Monday, or was it when? Yeah, it was Tuesday. It was Tuesday Night Football. The Los Angeles Rams took on the Seattle Seahawks. So I'm in the playoffs right now in fantasy football. When the season started, I was projected to finish top 2. And as the season went along, I was projected to win it all according to their fantasy playoff projections. And then this week, things got a little bit hairy as Tracy Collins, one of our members in our league, showed up as he always does when it matters the most. And I was down 33 points heading into this final day on Tuesday. Heading into this final game, he had DK Metcalf, I believe, as well. Or no, I had DK too. But DK is not my player of the week. So I'm down 33. And Cooper Kupp single-handedly dominates, wins me my fantasy football game. My playoff hopes are still alive. It is a 2-week playoff deal, which I didn't realize. So I am still, I'm still battling against Tracy to this day. However, at the time when he did get me 34 points, I thought Cooper Kupp kept me alive, which technically he did. But he had a dominant game, 136 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 rushing yards, 9 catches. Cooper Kupp dominated. I needed 33 points between Kupp and DK Metcalf combined.
Yep.
And Cooper Kupp got me 34.7 fantasy points. And I know he's not a fantasy player of the week, but technically he is. He is my player of the week. Cooper Kupp of the Los Angeles Rams. Shout out. You saved my season and obviously made my midweek that much better.
Yeah, Cooper Kupp may have won you the battle, but I don't think he's going to win you the war in the long term. I think Tracy's going to probably beat you, but Cooper Kupp has taken you into the playoffs this season. He has been the best player in fantasy throughout the entire season, of course. So that's a great pick. My player of the week is the God himself, Jared Goff, who beat the Cardinals on Sunday by a score of 30-12. The man went 21 of 26 for 216, 3 touchdowns and a 139.7 QBR, and defeated the Cardinals. I mean, an absolute huge win. That's definitely the upset of the season so far in the NFL, and it was led by a man named Jared Goff, the former LA Ram quarterback, who everyone had written off and who will be written off next year as well. He will probably be a backup, but that was his moment to shine, and he took advantage of it, and he beat the Cardinals. So Jared Goff is my player of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure how Jared Goff played up to a high standard in that game. He just looks so mellow, like he's not engaged in the game whatsoever. When they're down, when they're up, he just looks like a guy that, in my opinion, I'm sure he does love football. I hope he does, but he doesn't look like a guy that you look at and say, he's passionate about quarterbacking, playing in the NFL. If we need a big play, I can rely on this guy. He just looks like he's there to get paid. And
well, maybe he's getting his calm, cool, and collected self right now. Maybe that is what's happening. Maybe he's transitioning into an Aaron Rodgers type who doesn't care about the moment. And if we go back onto that one game, he might be the next Aaron Rodgers. We don't know. What if he does it again this week and for the rest of the week? Is he going to be the Lions quarterback next year? I'm pretty sure the Lions don't want to win any more games at this point after winning that one. There's really no reason to.
Except this week for my hot take.
But Dan Campbell, I mean, the players have bought into him. He's an absolute, I would gesture to say a good hire for the Lions. I mean, it seems like the players actually care to win, unlike the situation you had in Jacksonville with Urban Meyer, who was sadly let go last week after kicking his kicker. So a bit ironic, but I think Jared Goff is going to be in the MVP candidate. He's going to be in the talk for the next 10 years to come, probably.
Yeah, I don't know. But Dan Campbell has done a good job there with the Lions, and you see it in the locker room, win, lose, or draw, especially after their win against Arizona. He said, we pieced it all together. One, that's what we ask for each and every week, is to do this defensively, hold your own on special teams, and offensively just execute the game plan. And that's exactly what they did, and then obviously took advantage of the Cardinals' misfires. And they won a huge game at home, right? That was in Detroit. So that was awesome to see for the Lions, and I think that continues, as I mentioned a few moments ago.
I think that's his second time being our player of the week within the last 3 weeks. I think Jared Goff is coming on. I think he's becoming a top-tier quarterback in the NFL. And if we were doing our top 10, I think he might be in both of ours, maybe near the number 3 spot at this point. I mean, he has absolutely killed it, and Jared Goff is an absolute stud.
Yeah, top 10 is in bottom 10 of the league. Yeah, he'd make my top 10 for sure.
No,
most
top
definitely.
10.
But, that's our player of the week. It was Jared Goff for you. Of course, I had Cooper Kupp of the Los Angeles Rams. Again, he really sparked my energy heading into the playoffs, and I feel a little bit rejuvenated here, not only on the Chris Mathis podcast, but more importantly in my fantasy football league, because I need the money. In the other league, I've definitely lost. There's no shot of me even getting out of the dog crate, per se.
Yeah.
Hint, hint. But, I mean, seriously, I definitely need that money just to break even in my other fantasy football league. But either way, a rookie of the week to talk about this week goes to another Jet. I know a couple of weeks ago I took not Sam Darnold. I took Zach Wilson, quarterback for the Jets, as my rookie of the week. You questioned that, even though he did have a good week. They did lose a few weeks back.
He had an awful second half. He had a good first half.
He did, but all that matters are the numbers at the end of the game.
And they weren't good.
And they were decent. They were pretty good.
Devontae Williams did way better, 200 total yards.
So my rookie of the week this week goes out to another Jets player. It's another rookie, obviously. It's a defensive back, a 6th-round draft pick. So something about 6th-round draft picks, they get an opportunity, and if you take advantage of that and you run with it, you have a shot to make it in the NFL, even if it's just for 1 week, and that's Brandon Echols, defensive back for the New York Jets. Get this, 4 tackles at DB, which is solid for any defensive back. He also had 3 pass deflections. Talk about lockdown. Reminds me of another former New York Jet. Lockdown, kind of a DB out on an island with the Jets. Darrelle Revis, maybe for 1 week. He also had a pick 6, a rookie. I mean, come on, you never know. Of course, Brandon Echols, my rookie of the week. 4 tackles, 3 pass deflections, and a 20-yard pick 6 last week for the Jets rookie out of the University of Kentucky. Shout out to some of our listeners, Ryan Norton, Greg Norton, huge Kentucky fans. I'm sure they love every bit of that. So that one's for you guys. We appreciate you guys joining us here on the Chris Mathis podcast. Spence, who do you got? I'm sure it can't compete. And real talk, I don't think it can compete with Echols, because there was a lack of rookie talent
the rookies this week were weak. But I feel like Echols was obviously targeted a lot this game. I'd like to see how many yards he gave up this week, if that was a thing, if someone had tracked that, because 4 tackles and 3 pass deflections along with a pick 6 means that he was targeted a lot in this game. So he had a great week, and he was obviously picked on, and he took advantage of it. Depending on it, he may have given up 100 yards. We'll never know. But my rookie of the week this week is Javonte Williams again. He only had 81 yards. I mean, the rookie of the weeks this week, the rookies were just not hitting on all cylinders this week. So the reason I'm picking Javonte Williams is a lot like the reason you picked Cooper Kupp, because this guy helped me win my fantasy game against the Drip and Ice mastermind Cole Wright by a score of 95 point something to 94 point something. So I beat him by less than a point. It was a great game. Luckily, it's not a 2-week thing because I'm pretty sure he would beat me. He had a better team than I did. He was projected to win by like 15 before the game started. Luckily, everyone absolutely sucked this week for both of our teams. And Javonte Williams, those extra 9 receiving yards that he had won me my fantasy game. So I'm going to go with Javonte Williams, just 81 total scrimmage yards. But if he was not the second string running back at the start of the season, I think he could be up for Offensive Rookie of the Year. But he was behind Melvin Gordon to start the season, and now he splits carries with him. But Javonte Williams absolutely just shines if you watch him. He has the most broken tackles in the NFL. He has more broken tackles than Jonathan Taylor and 100 less rushing attempts. So this dude's a stud, and he's my Rookie of the Week.
Yeah, we were talking about him this past weekend before the game, and saw some of his highlights pop up on ESPN regarding Javonte Williams. This is the second time that you've picked him as your Rookie of the Week, right?
At least the fourth.
Or was he Player of the Week one time as well, or just strictly Rookie
of the Week at least 4 times.
Okay. Yeah, he's been solid there. And as you said, he's kind of splitting carries with Melvin Gordon, who's been a goal line sniffer, if you will. He scores a lot of touchdowns there for the Broncos. I have him in fantasy. Again, he's not I'm talking about his counterpart, Melvin Gordon. He's not a great running back right now. He's definitely in the latter stage of his career, but he does score a lot of touchdowns. Reminds me a lot of
Broncos running backs are always productive.
Yeah, it has to do with the air, of course, and whatever else they have there in Denver and Colorado and all of those things. But anyways, so Melvin Gordon been a good running back for me, but obviously Javonte Williams is by far their better running back, and that does bring a good point. They had Phil Lindsay a few years back.
Yeah, Philip Lindsay was very good, and like you just said, it is probably because of what they have available that is legal in their area. It's easier for them to recover, especially with that air that they have as well. They can go on top of Pikes Peak, maybe take some of that legality stuff up there and heal. So
yeah, and they do it for about a year too. Usually it lasts about a year because Phil Lindsay, where did he go? He went
to the Texans. Sucked. He wasn't a very good running back, but he got the ball a lot, and that's why.
That's it. Yep. So you kind of set us up for our next segment, of course, the Shankarooski segment provided and presented by thedrippinice.com. Drip and Ice, check them out, and look at this, guys. How about this? Check out this hoodie. So Spence, raise yours up just a little bit higher. Oh, there we go. That's not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but how many, Spence? Not 6?
It's 7.
7 ice cream cones right there. That's the Lucky 7 hoodie that we've talked about on the podcast for weeks, and you've got it in your hands.
Yeah,
shout out to Drip
powerful.
and
Ice. I feel like Spider-Man whenever he puts on the black suit right now. I feel like my new name is Lil Whip at this point because I am just dripping ice all over the place. I feel like I'm going to pull a lot when I go to Tampa now if I keep this hoodie on. So I think this hoodie just boosts a lot of confidence. It boosts everything about me. So I like I said, I feel like Spider-Man after the Venom symbiote comes down and he gets a piece of that. And I'm just going to keep this thing on until I start doing things that might get me in trouble.
Yeah, without question. TheDrippandIce.com. We get that, Christmas is just around the corner. By the time you order something, you're probably not going to get this gift on time. But if there is a last-minute gift that you guys need to check out, it's thedrippandIce.com. Check them out. I mean, look at this guy. I've got this sick icy bear right here. I've got Drip and Ice written on the snowboard. And then I've got some sick, what we got here? Some ski glasses, some colorful ski glasses right here. And you said something about the ice cream cone. I don't see it on the side. I think it's right here. But anyways, go check out thedrippandIce.com. Right here. Awesome stuff. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Check that out. That makes the shirt
what
right
a beaut.
there. That's beautiful. So anyways, The Drip and Ice brings you guys our Shankarooski segment.
And one extra thing, who knows, since it is Christmas time, Santa is around. So maybe we could get some shipping on Santa's sleigh on the 25th. Maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe if you guys pay the extra $200 for that. We don't know how much Santa charges to ship, but if you're willing, maybe Santa will take
absolutely.
that to your house.
And if not, if we can't get a hold of Santa, we can get a hold of Kenny with Mountainside Parcel and Post.
Or maybe Baker Mayfield. He's an elf. He has been in cahoots with Santa. If we can talk to Baker Mayfield or the Browns mascot, we might have a chance at getting this to you by New Year's. Not December 25th.
The weird thing is obviously with the Drip and Ice bringing you guys our Shankarooski segment of the week. It's probably my favorite segment because it's a lot of fun to talk about and see how bad these NFL kickers do at their job. They get paid millions of dollars for. Granted, it is on the lesser side of the millions of dollars, but they do get paid millions of dollars. And you talk about Baker Mayfield, you talk about the Cleveland Browns. This week for me, we saw, first and foremost, we saw a total of 8 missed field goals. 6 field goals, 2 extra points were missed. And this guy, Cleveland Browns kicker Chase McLaughlin, I think that's how you say his name. McLaughlin.
He's got laugh in
He's
his
a
last
laughing
name.
stock as he missed his 6th field goal of the year. And obviously I read a headline earlier today regarding he is, holding on to his job security as of right now. But how the heck? I mean, 6 missed field goals. Obviously, this is one of the better weeks for kicking. Again, a total miss of 8 kicks this week. But this guy accounted for his 6th miss on the year, and definitely one of the worst. I think Mason Crosby's number 1 right now in misses. He's got a lot of Shankarooski segment, award-winning kick ceremonies here on the podcast, but Chase McLaughlin definitely wins this week's Shankarooski Kicker of the Week without question. And that segment, of course, brought to you by drippinice.com, the Drip and Ice. Go check them out for all of your needs. And obviously we spoke with Joseph Mancuso earlier this week on a Talk to Him Tuesday edition of the podcast. He's even got a collab, JM9 collection, with the drippinice.com. So leads us into what's climbing right now, what's taking off. And as you guys know, with the fantasy football situation, playoffs, we're already in the playoffs. We are in the heart of fantasy football playoffs. To the Moon Fantasy Pickup Player of the Week. Last week I missed it with Devontae Freeman of the Baltimore Ravens. He let me down. He had 4 points, whatnot. But this week I've got Hunter Henry, who come off of a huge not playoff performance. In fantasy he did. He had a dominant performance for the New England Patriots as I pull up his official numbers. But he had a huge week, and obviously my pickup of the week because Tyler Higbee is kind of on that COVID list as of now, and I don't know if he's going to be back anytime soon, but obviously Hunter Henry is a guy to look for. He had a dominant week. I think he had 2 touchdowns last week for the New England Patriots, and he did dominate. He had 25 points, 2 touchdowns on 6 catches. Yeah, he's playing against the Bills, but he and Mac Jones have got a lot of connection. If there is one week where they play the Bills and, they want to throw the ball around because last time Mac Jones threw the ball 3 times. I think they want to prove that Mac Jones is legit. I think Mac Jones finds Hunter Henry for 2 touchdowns this week. Here this week in fantasy football, pick up Hunter Henry if he is available in your fantasy football league.
Yeah, guys, be careful. Do not take his advice. I do not think that is a good pickup this week because Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde are going to be shadowing him all game. And I think that the Patriots are going to go back to their run game, which won them the last time in Buffalo. So I think they're going to try and do that again. But the real pickup of the week that you should be targeting is Ronald Jones. I'm sure he's available in every single league.
As he should be.
Yeah, well, no. Because last week he averaged 7.9 yards a carry on 8 rushes for 63 yards. He also had 2 catches, I believe, for 10-ish yards. I mean, I think he's going to put up 3/4 of what Leonard Fournette would do. I think he's putting up 70 yards and a touchdown against the Panthers this Sunday. And the reason I believe this is because last year against Carolina, he had a 99-yard rushing touchdown, and I feel like he plays good in the Bank of America Stadium, and I think the Panthers fans are going to be booing the Panthers this week because of Cam Newton and their head coach Matt Rule that everyone hates and thinks he's a tool and thinks he's a stooge, which he is, and he'll be fired after this season after they paid him all the money. But Ronald Jones is going to take advantage of the disheartened Carolina Panthers fan base, their coach, and the washed-up Cam Newton. So Ronald Jones is the guy to pick up this week against the Panthers.
Yeah, I think obviously Ronald Jones had some starting experience over the last 3 or 4 years with the Buccaneers and kind of had to take the back seat, if you will, sit on the back of the bus due to the fact that Leonard Fournette showed out last year right before that playoff stretch throughout the playoffs. And then this year, too, obviously, as you mentioned, Leonard Fournette is out for the regular season at least.
Yeah.
Rojo, as we mentioned, has had some playing experience as a starting running back. Almost had 1,000 yards last year. So this guy, that's a great pickup. He is definitely available.
Thank you. I know it is.
Probably 70+%.
And Ronald Jones, I mean, he got the short end of the stick last year because he had COVID.
Yeah,
right before the wild card game, after he put up nearly 1,000 yards, should have had 1,000 yards. He averaged 5.5 yards per carry last season. I mean, he had a great season. We just didn't give him the ball as much near the end of the season when Fournette finally started playing decent. Then he got COVID, basically barely played in the playoffs, played in the Super Bowl as a second string this whole year, but now he's available in basically every fantasy league. And if you're still in the playoffs, if you're one of the lucky people still in the playoffs like me and Chris, you might want to go out there and pick up Ronald Jones against Carolina because Brady's performance last week was awful, and the Buccaneers' performance isn't going to get much better. The only guy we got looking forward to is Antonio Brown coming back this week. And the Carolina Panthers have a pretty good pass defense, and they have a great pass rusher in Brian Burns. So running the ball is going to be happening a lot this week. I wouldn't be too scared about the Le'Veon Bell pickup. I think he'll play a little bit this week. But I think that's a good signing going on to Le'Veon Bell. I think he's going to be good with the Bucs if Fournette misses an extended amount of time.
Yeah, and also I wanted to feed off that. I was going to bring up the Le'Veon Bell situation with the Buccaneers. Just before you said that, no joke, I just don't want to cut you off and make bad radio, bad podcasting here on the Chris Mathis podcast. But, yeah, obviously if you're Ronald Jones and you see that the Bucs sign any other running back, no matter who it is, especially a guy that had a great 3-year stint with the Pittsburgh Steelers, seems like forever ago, probably 3 or 4 years ago, Le'Veon Bell, there has to be some fire lit underneath you to go out there, dominate, no matter what. Even though Le'Veon Bell is more than likely washed up, I think it is a decent signing. He's going to want to give it his all for Tom Brady.
Yeah.
There's no excuse for Ronald Jones not to go off the next 2 or 3 weeks, especially knowing that there's a Pro Bowl caliber running back from years ago riding the bench behind him in Le'Veon Bell. So if Ronald Jones doesn't get it done for your fantasy team this week, I don't know if he ever will, because it's now or never for Ronald Jones, and obviously this is a contract year, believe it or not, for Ronald Jones, and I have no doubt in my mind he will not be a Buccaneer next year, but he does want to play for a contract. He's playing for a contract. He's the lead guy right now. The Bucs just signed Le'Veon Bell. Yeah, I like that pickup with Ronald Jones. I kind of wish that I would have taken that from you and not taken Hunter Henry, but Hunter Henry, my to-the-moon fantasy pickup player of the week. Ronald Jones of the Buccaneers is a great pick. And I'll give you some credit on that one, Spence. So now let's go to the lightning round right here on the Chris Mathis podcast. Yeah, what's it brought to you by? I guess just our picks from last week, which I forgot to plug. Last week I went 9-7, so 10-4.
This was the worst week I've ever seen in my entire life. It was so not correct.
You said that the week before.
The week was awful. I mean, this NFL season as a whole. I mean, it was the COVID week. It was the week of being a blind mice and just throwing darts at a board and hitting the guy on the right side and him falling over and whatever he touched was the pick that you chose.
Yeah, that's good.
So I think this week absolutely sucked in the NFL. Games got moved around because of COVID. A lot of teams had backups at quarterback and backups in other positions that matter. So I think this week was awful, but let's hear how you did in the most unpredictable week of all time.
Well, you say that, and then 2 weeks before when we first started keeping track of this real deal type, prediction with the lightning round, I went 10-4. 10-4 last week, so I'm 20-8. And then this past week, I went 9-7, even in an unpredictable situation.
Wait, what?
Yep. And then you had a decent week, all things considered. You talk about being the worst week of all time. You had a decent week, all things considered. You went 7-9, which isn't terrible. Yep. Obviously not 9-7, but it's not terrible.
1 year Seattle went 7-9 and made it into the playoffs. So
hopefully you can do the same for sure. But this week's lightning round is pretty busy. Obviously, starting off with Thursday Night Football, we'll be pretty quick with the big three that we've already picked.
Oh yeah.
But the other games, we've got plenty of time to dabble into just a little bit more than usual regarding our picks here. Thursday Night Football tonight, San Francisco at Tennessee. Obviously, I have San Francisco in this game. Give me a 7-point win for the San Francisco 49ers on the road against Tennessee.
Yeah, I've got San Fran in this game. I think Tennessee's going to be running the ball a lot. Deontay Foreman's had 100 yards in most of the games he's started since Derrick Henry has been out, and it shows that running backs are very replaceable. But the thing that's not replaceable is the Titans quarterback. Ryan Tannehill is having an awful season, and people forget that he's 34 years old, only 2 years younger than Matt Ryan at this point. So Tannehill is at the crossroads of his Titans starting quarterback career at the moment with the seasons he's put up. He has like 5 more touchdowns than interceptions somehow. He's had an awful season.
I think he's tied.
I've got Jimmy G in this game with the Niners. The pretty boy himself is going to go out there and defeat the Titans.
He's actually tied. 14 picks, 14 touchdowns. Yeah. 3,000 yards passing. His quarterback rating 83.4. As of now, granted, he doesn't have Derrick Henry, but once Henry went out, you really see Tannehill's true colors.
Yeah. And you know what it was?
What's up?
Remember, they signed Adrian Peterson, And I think Adrian Peterson may have scared off Tannehill's talent, honestly. I think Adrian Peterson, since he is a little bit older than Tannehill, may have saw Tannehill as a child and maybe scared him off like he did his own children. So that could be it. We don't know.
Also, Saturday, we move into the Saturday games. Again, no bye week. On Saturday, the Cleveland Browns play at Lambeau Field. Packers are a 7-point favorite over the Browns. And you kind of referenced earlier that the Browns could be a better upset pick than the Lions over the Falcons.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. Nick Mullins still the starting quarterback for the Browns as of now?
No, I think the Keebler elf himself, Baker Mayfield, is going to be back in this game. So, I mean, at least an extra 4 points for the Browns offense.
So, yeah, tack on. And even at that point, you're looking at the Packers improving to 12-3. Again, Green Bay's quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, a guy that Joe Mancuso looks up to and tries to implement and replicate his throwing motion, the whole 9 yards. Just his cool, calm, collective attitude. He's dominant right now. Over the last 4 games, 13 touchdowns, 0 picks.
Yeah.
Tom Brady wet the bed last week. Aaron Rodgers is by far, without question, on the pedestal right now for the MVP vote. I've got Green Bay easily, single-handedly beating the Cleveland Browns at home this week, no matter who plays at quarterback for the Browns.
Yeah, I've got Green Bay in this game, but my Christmas wish, the miracle that I'm hoping for, because this game is on Christmas, I'm hoping Santa delivers me a Cleveland Browns win to help the Buccaneers playoff seed chances here to get in the top 2 seeds. So I don't think it's going to happen. I've got Green Bay in this game, but Santa, if you're listening, please let the Browns win. Help one of your elves out.
That'd be great. That would be great. We gave him a free plug here on the podcast a few moments ago, so I'm sure he'll help us out for sure. Also, another Big 3 game on Saturday, Indianapolis at Arizona. We'll just say who wins this game. I've got Indianapolis winning on the road, even though they are the underdog in this game.
Yeah, I've got Indianapolis in this game defeating the Arizona Cardinals. I think the midget himself, Kyler Murray, is just going to go out there and wet the bed again. He is back to his 5-year-old ways in this league. He can't see over the offensive line. So I've got Indianapolis pounding the ball with Jonathan Taylor to win this game.
Without question, Jonathan Taylor, a great running back. And then we go to Sunday's games. Tampa Bay beat up with injury right now. Levante David out. Mike Evans out for some time, week to week. Leonard Fournette out for the rest of the year. Chris Godwin out for the rest of the year. They do take on a pretty pitiful. All that said, the Carolina Panthers are still a 10.5-point underdog. As you said, Ronald Jones should have a big week this week. I think the Bucs win this game. I think they get back on par. The return of Antonio Brown, Mr. Fake Vaccination Card himself, returns to action, and I think he scores 2 times this week. Ooh. As the Bucs win 34-14, even with Levante David out against Carolina.
Yeah, this is a flashback to last year, to the game we went to. It was Antonio Brown's first game, and it was Ronald Jones starting at running back for Tampa Bay, so I think we're going to see the same thing. I've got Tampa Bay in this game, even after the Saints thing that went down. I mean, I think once Sean Payton saw that Kevin James was going to play him in a movie and he got to go back and see his Bounty Gate days, I think he issued another one while he was out with COVID against the Bucs this week. I mean, Godwin tore his ACL, Levante David out for season, Mike Evans injured on the second drive of the game. I mean, there's a lot of injuries in this game and a lot of Saints players celebrating while the players were down. I mean, I believe that Kevin James may have got a hold of Sean Payton and really I think they collaborated and restarted a bounty.
Yeah, I don't put it past him, no doubt about it. Detroit Lions play at the Atlanta Falcons this Sunday. Falcons a 4-point favorite, as they should be. As I mentioned before, my hot take, the Lions win this game in Atlanta, and they will do that. What's your thought on this game, Spence?
In real life, if this was an actual battle between a lion and a falcon, I would choose the
falcon.
Lion.
Really?
Yes. The lion's going to get one bite, catch that falcon right out of the air.
Do that again. Replay.
No. He's going to catch that falcon out of the air. But in real life, I've got Atlanta winning this game. Kyle Pitts going to have a big game. Matt Ryan a little bit washed up, not the same quarterback, but to be fair, his offensive line is absolutely awful. Their right guard that they drafted said, draft me if you don't want your quarterback to get hit. His last name's Mayfield, not related to Baker Mayfield, but he has given up the most sacks in the NFL this season besides the left tackle for the New York Giants, who is the worst in the NFL, Nate Solder. There is no correlation there, but I've got Atlanta in this game defeating the Lions in Atlanta. Atlanta finally going to win at their home stadium. They don't do it often, and the Pugh brothers can attest to that. But they're in Disney right now, so they may actually not get to watch this game, and maybe they're the reason Atlanta loses.
Yeah, and
so Atlanta's going to win.
Yeah, well, I can't. I think you're wrong, absolutely, but I think that they might have some magic there.
I just completely made you think that your hot take was wrong after I gave that great sound logic.
You did pretty good, absolutely. The New York Giants play at the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles a 10-point favorite. They play Mike Glennon, still questionable for quarterback for the Giants.
Done.
He's going to lose that game for the Eagles. No matter even if he plays or even if he doesn't, it can't be much better or worse than Mike Glennon. Well, it can't be a lot better than Mike Glennon.
I think you're forgetting about who the Giants quarterback's going to be this week.
Who's that?
Jake from State Farm. Jake Fromm taking over. I mean, he had 83 yards in the fourth quarter last week. I think he's going to go out there, put up at least 150 yards, go back to his Georgia days where he checks it down every single play, and they lose. So I've got the Eagles in this game. I think Jalen Hurts is going to get back on his little horse and ride it like Devin White, and they're going to win this game.
The Jacksonville Jaguars, my pick, Philadelphia wins. They are the home team. Jacksonville Jaguars play at the New York Jets. Jets are a 2-point favorite. Jaguars have an interim head coach. I think the Jaguars win this week against the Jets. All things considered, Trevor Lawrence wants to win badly. I think he gets it done this week.
I've got the Jets in this game. I think the Jaguars have nothing to play for anymore. They just want to get a better draft pick at this point. Saleh, the coach for the Jets, probably wants to win if he wants to keep his job. So I've got the Jets in this game, defeating the Jacksonville Jaguars in New York, the city of losers.
Obviously, the Houston Texans-Chargers game, a game that you talked about earlier today here on the podcast. The Chargers are a 9.5-point favorite. They play in Houston. Something about opposing kickers at that stadium, Qualcomm Stadium, I believe that's what it is. You just can't make field goals there for some reason. There's been 2 weeks where a guy's missed a field goal.
And they're in a dome.
Yeah, when the Texans are home. The Chargers still go out there and they dominate. I don't care how much turkey, ham, whatever it was that Herbert had. I do think that they dominate in this game, and you're just absolutely wrong in this one. And
no,
I think that you're going to feel bad about it next week on the podcast.
I'm going to absolutely love this pick because I know that Herbert's going to be tired going into this game, especially after their loss to the Chiefs last week. I think he has lost his stuff. I think he's going to be sad. I feel like he lost his black Spider-Man suit, and now he doesn't have it, and now he doesn't feel like a badass anymore. And the Houston Texans are going to be home. I mean, the Chargers have to fly to Houston, okay? And Houston's going to win this game inside of their dome. I mean, it's an obvious pick. I mean, the Chargers are 9.5 points favorites, but I'm telling you, go with the Houston Texans if you're a betting man, which I am.
But you don't pay up on those bets.
Well,
he's a betting man until he has to pay. Then he doesn't pay up. But he does receive his...
If I'm wrong, it didn't happen.
He does reap his reward from his
I reap
bets.
my rewards. I don't... Accountability is not.
That's not.
Is not.
You
good.
don't even know
Accountability is the biggest disability.
Yeah, you can't
Everyone
even
knows
spell.
this.
The Buffalo Bills play at the. Speaking of pay, they play at the New England Patriots this week. Patriots are a 2.5-point favorite. I think that they do win this game against the Bills. You said it's a Buffalo must-win. It is, but I'm not betting against Bill Belichick following a loss last week on the road against the Colts.
You got to remember, Buffalo has Wild Wings, and their fans are wild cards, and they travel well. And every time these two teams play in New England, you know what's going to get thrown on that field, and it could hit Mac Jones, and he might fall on it. So you got to be careful.
Like
yeah. A.J. Hawk was talking about it a couple weeks ago where he said that he was always scared to play the Bills because they may throw a dildo on the field, and it could hit him in the face and chip his tooth. So this could happen to Mac Jones, and it would be bad. So I've got Buffalo in this game, and I think that's going to happen. I think a Bills fan from the top row is going to throw it, not going to say what it is, it as far as he can, and it may hit Mac Jones in the face, could really knock him out of the game.
Instead of paper airplanes, they're throwing other things there at Gillette Stadium. Now, the L.A. Rams play in Minnesota. They take on the Minnesota Vikings. Rams, obviously, they had a good week. They'll play against the Vikings. They are a 3-point favorite over the Vikings. Not Sam Darnold. Kirk Cousins. I almost said Sam Bradford.
Come on.
Kirk Cousins looked awful last week. Yeah, really. He looked really bad. He made probably the worst throw I've ever seen, worse than Mike Glennon.
Okay, but Justin Jefferson was held and pushed down on that play, so...
Okay, I didn't see that angle then. I might take that back.
Call it.
Either way, 3-point favorite Rams play against the Minnesota Vikings. They do win this game no matter what. No matter how good that Kirk Cousins looks this week, the Rams win on the road.
Yeah, I've got the battering Rams in this game defeating the Minnesota Vikings because a Viking probably wouldn't be able to withstand a hit from a Ram in real life because a Viking is only a human and not immortal like most people may think. So I've got the Rams in this game. Another thing, though, if Santa is listening, I do hope that he gives us a Minnesota Vikings win to help the Bucs, of course, because the Rams did beat us earlier in the season, and they have the tiebreaker. Right now we have the same record. But I've got the Rams in this game because Stafford is playing pretty good right now, and I've got the Rams by 10.
Cincinnati, we talked about them earlier. Joe Burrow and his comments regarding how boring the city of Cincinnati is. They'll host the Baltimore Ravens this week, 2.5-point favorite. Bengals over the Ravens. You know, I'm going to say the Bengals. I forget what I said earlier. Who did I say? I think it's on the fence. So whatever I said earlier is what I'm going with. I'm not going to say something and counteract myself.
Earlier.
You sure?
Yeah, I think you said Baltimore's going to lose regardless.
Okay, there you go. I'll stick with that.
Okay.
I'll stick with that.
So the AFC North is the tightest division in the entire NFL. I mean, the top team is 8-6, second team is 8-6, the third team is the Steelers. They're 7-6-1, and then you have the Browns in fourth place at 7-7. So I mean, this is a 1-game difference between first and fourth. So this is a huge game, and it's always a toss-up because this is the this is the most hateful rivalry group in the entire NFL. The AFC North is always going to be a tough game whenever any team plays each other from the AFC North. This week it's the top 2 seeds in Baltimore and Cincinnati, and this is a huge game. I think that the Bengals are going to win this game. I do not know if the Ravens are going to have Lamar Jackson back for this week. He did not practice on Wednesday, so that could play into it, but their backup is a stud out of nowhere. But I've got the Bengals in this game. Hopefully Joe Burrow can get back on track. He has not been playing his best football as of recent. I mean, Jamar Chase had 1 catch last week. He had me 1.6 fantasy points, and I thought I was going to lose me the game, but I got the Bengals in this game.
Down to the last handful of games here in our lightning round. We'll speed it back up for you guys that are still tuned into the Chris Mathis podcast. We do appreciate it. Here are a couple of big games. Chicago battle of losers, if you will. The Chicago Bears play against the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. That 12th man is gone. The Bears want to win this football game. Justin Fields wants to prove that he was a decent draft pick. I think that the Bears go into Seattle and they win this game, even though they are the line is unavailable in this game.
Wow.
So I'm going to set the line at, I think the Bears are a 3-point underdog, and I think that the Bears win by 6 or 7 plus.
Yeah, in an alternate reality, Russell Wilson would have left Seattle this year and gone to the Bears. Matt Nagy wouldn't have been the head coach, and the Bears would have been good. But in the reality that we live in, which is Earth 907, I've got Seattle winning this game. They have Russell Wilson. Chicago has Justin Fields. Russell Wilson edges him out just a little bit. This season, he absolutely sucks, but it's okay. I think Seattle's going to win this game. The 12th man may make a return. We don't know what happened to him. He's been MIA as of recent. Could be because of the weather conditions in Seattle, but let's hope he's okay and hope he shows up at the game this week against the Chicago Bears.
The Las Vegas Raiders host the Denver Broncos. Raiders are a 1-point favorite. I'm out on the Raiders. I think the Broncos come into town and they dominate. Your guy, the Williams running back, he goes off, and I think that he leads that team to a victory. He leads the charge, and the Broncos run over the Raiders this week. Even though they are a 1-point underdog in Las Vegas, I'll go 27-20. Denver over Las Vegas.
Yeah, the AFC West, a lot like the AFC North, is very close and seeds 2 through 4. But in this game, I've got the Broncos winning this game. I mean, it's the time of the season where the Raiders absolutely fall off. After the midway point, they absolutely suck. But this year, you can't blame them. They did lose their head coach. They lost their best receiver forever. They lost their head coach forever, of course, as well. But I've got the Broncos in this game. I think Javonte Williams has another huge game because he is a stud.
Without question, the Dallas Cowboys take on the Washington football team, and we're looking here at the spread. Obviously, Dallas a 10.5-point favorite in this game. I believe Taylor Heineke is out for this game. He is. Garrett Gilbert looks to be the quarterback for Washington. That tells me enough right there. Dallas, the first-place team in the NFC East, will win this football game on Sunday night at 8:20.
Yeah, Dallas is getting hot at the right time. It's scary for the Buccaneers. It's scary for the rest of the NFC. I mean, they still have a shot at the 1 seed if the Packers continue to lose and the Cardinals lose. Not Packers continue to lose, but if they do lose. But I've got the Dallas Cowboys in this game. Taylor Heineke's out. Even if he was in, I would still choose the Cowboys. The last time these two teams played, Micah Parsons absolutely dominated because he is the Defensive Player of the Year, not just Defensive Rookie of the Year. So I've got the Dallas Cowboys in this game on Monday.
We also have Pittsburgh against Kansas City. Thanks for catching that miscue right there.
On Sunday.
On Sunday, 4:25 matchup. Chiefs are a 10-point favorite. Yeah, they do that. They probably score 14 more than Pittsburgh in this game at home.
Yeah, I mean, Roethlisberger could watch all the film in the world and he would still lose this game. I think the Chiefs have gotten hot at the right time, a lot like the Bucs did last year. Their defense has stepped up. They look a lot like the Bucs of last year, where they don't have a great run game. Their offense is killing it now. Tight ends have become more involved there. Kelsey absolutely destroying. I've got the Chiefs in this game by a lot.
Yeah, I'm actually scared of the Chiefs now. I think they have a shot to.
I think they've won 7 or 8 in a row.
Will win this year. The New Orleans Saints will host the Miami Dolphins at 8:15 for Monday Night Football. Saints are a 3-point favorite, surprisingly, in my opinion. Even though they are the home team, I'll go with the Dolphins in this game against the Saints in New Orleans.
Well, Kevin James is the new head coach of the Saints. He has absolutely taken over. He cloned Sean Payton, became Sean Payton, started a bounty against the Bucs, and now he's going against Miami, and it's an easy W for the Saints, and they're going to continue to climb in that wild card in the NFC, and they're going to be in the playoffs. So watch out for the Saints. Watch out for Taysom Hill. This is going to be a dangerous team down the stretch because of their defense. Demario Davis is very good. Cameron Jordan, very good. Marshawn Lattimore, meh. But the rest of the defense plays well together, and they're going to be good down the stretch.
Yeah, P.J. Williams, a pretty good defensive back there, unfortunately, for the Saints. But obviously, big Saints fan, Joe Mancuso joined us on the Tuesday edition of the Chris Mathis Podcast, a Talk to Him Tuesday edition of the Chris Mathis Podcast. First ever guest interview. We talked with a Division I quarterback at Richmond, and talked about his journey through the thick and thin of college football and his opportunity at hand, in which he may have a shot to play in the NFL, and potentially get drafted. I thought the interview was amazing. We've got a lot of great feedback, and I think you guys will enjoy that. So whether you're a fan of college football, fan of Joe Mancuso or not, go check out Talk to Him Tuesday edition of the Chris Mathis Podcast. We'll have great interviews like that, hopefully bi-weekly here on the podcast, in addition to a weekly show like we currently do. We need some more subscribers on YouTube. Go follow us at TCM_pod. TCM_pod. Give us a like. Please subscribe. If we get up to 25, we might do some kind of giveaway. We're at 14 right now. As always, thanks for tuning in to the Chris Mathis Podcast. Any final thoughts, Spence?
Yeah, go to our YouTube, TCM_pod. Hit that subscribe button. Click on all of our videos. Hit the like button. Comment down below, and we will like your comment. This is huge for you. Big reward for you. Big reward for us. Let's get this thing going, and in case we don't see you again, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, and a Merry Christmas to you.
Happy New Year as well. Hopefully we'll record a show while we're on vacation next week. No.
We're going to take a 1-week hiatus on vacation because we will not have this beautiful studio down there in Tampa.
That's true.
It's not going to be there. The Parcel Post thing's not going to be there.
Mountainside Parcel Post.
And a lot like Ben Roethlisberger in his prime, this is this building, but in Tampa, that's Ben Roethlisberger now, so...
We're taking a week off in terms of podcast
coming up
next week, but we will tweet. We will tweet during the game. So follow us on Twitter, TCM_pod. Please do that. As always, thanks for tuning in. As for Chris Mathis, Spencer Mathis, we will catch you guys next. We're 2 weeks. We'll have a next week hiatus.
2 weeks away, everybody.
In 2 weeks, we'll be back. Thanks for tuning in.